This is a court of law. The standards of evidence are completely
The
different.
court accepts the existence of God every time a witness swears to tell the truth. I think it's about time they accept the existence of the devil.
The Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It. It's finally out and I'm here to dissect it all. In this video, I will go into the true haunting story behind this film and cover all of the important parts that we need to know. Leave a thumbs up if you'd like me to create a separate video of going into the whole Conjuring universe in its chronological order. Also, spoiler alert, I will be discussing certain parts of the film scenes and comparing them to the true life events, so if that doesn't bother you, keep on watching. While the film takes the demon plot and runs wild with it in the latter part of the movie, the first half is loosely based on the real story of the first time that demonic possession was brought up as a defense in a US court. The film begins with Ed and Lorraine Warren, played by Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga, at the exorcism of a young boy named David Glatzel, played by Julian Hilliard. The real-life story begins the same way. Ed and Lorraine Warren really attended the exorcism of a young boy named David Glatzel in the early 1980s. Present was also 19-year-old Arne Cheyenne Johnson, the boyfriend of David's older sister Debbie. Allegedly, during this exorcism, Johnson asked the demon possessing David to enter him instead, and the demon complied. Several weeks later, on February 16, 1981, Johnson stabbed his landlord Alan Bono to death after a booze-soaked argument. So how did it escalate to that? Let's move on to the historical accuracy of the story and answer the following questions that will help us clarify important bits of this incident. How did 11-year-old David Glatzel allegedly become possessed? According to the Conjuring 3 story, in early July 1980s, 11-year-old David Glatzel had been helping his older sister Debbie Glatzel and her boyfriend Arne Cheyenne Johnson clean up a Connecticut rental property they were preparing to move into. While at the property, David claimed to have encountered a burnt and black-looking old man who pushed him into a waterbed and said he would bring harm to them if they moved into the home. The movie's version of the encounter finds David being grabbed by a hand that bursts through the inside the waterbed, which is a fictionalized version of the actual account. After returning to his parents' home, David claimed that the old man continued to appear before him and talk to him. He described the man as having a white beard and wearing jeans and a flannel shirt. He said that the man's skin looked charred black as if he had been burned in a fire. David also saw the man in night terrors and had obtained unexplained bruises and scratches on his body. He would wake up screaming and describe the man as having large, sunken black eyes and animal-like features, including horns, hooves, pointy ears, and jagged teeth. Aside from its dark eyes, the Conjuring 3 demon doesn't closely resemble what David described, which means the movie exaggerates David's account of the demon and the waterbed. When did the true story behind The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, take place? The real-life events surrounding the Devil Made Me Do It case, including the David Glatzel possession and his subsequent exorcisms, along with Arne Johnson's possession and a murder trial, unfolded in 1980 and 1981. Were there any other signs of paranormal activity in the Glatzel home? Yes, the family claimed to hear unexplained noises coming from the attic. Demonologist Ed Warren said that banging and growling sounds were heard from the basement and he saw a rocking chair move on its own. During an interview with paranormal researcher Tony Spera, Ed also claimed that David's plastic toy dinosaur started to walk on its own towards the family. A deep voice could then be heard emanating from it, telling them, "Beware, you're all going to die." Did a priest come and bless the house? In the movie, Father Gordon, Steve Coulter, arrives to bless the home. Despite his name being changed for the film, according to the family, they did bring a Roman Catholic priest to bless the house. Several priests were involved in the exorcism of the boy, David Glatzel, with the most prominent being Reverend Francis E. Vergelak. Did the Glatzel family really contact demonologists Ed and Lorraine Warren? The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It true story reveals that the family did indeed contact husband and wife, paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren. Ed was a demonologist and Lorraine claimed to be a clairvoyant. Like most of the previous movies in the Conjuring series, including the Enfield Poltergeist and Annabelle, the story inspired by the Warrens' case files. Both Ed and Lorraine are no longer living. Did Lorraine Warren observe the demon? This what Lorraine Warren claimed, and it was the Warrens who introduced the theory of demonic possession. Lorraine said that while her husband Ed was interviewing the possessed boy, David Glatzel, she saw a black mist materialize next to him, indicating that the demon was present. David's mother, Judy, had previously wondered if a ghost, not a demon, was the culprit, but the Warrens rejected the idea. Lorraine also claimed that she saw David being choked by invisible hands, and he remarked that he had the feeling he was being hit. She said that the red marks could be seen on his neck afterward. Lorraine also said she witnessed David growl and hiss. She heard him speak in unrecognizable voices and said that he would recite passages from the Bible and John Milton's Paradise Lost. David's sister, Debbie Glatzel, said that he would also spit, bite, kick, and swear terrible words. She described powerful forces flopping him head to toe like a rag doll. Debbie said that she saw the demon once during one of her brother David's nighttime episodes. He manifested, just a face on the wall, high cheekbones, a narrow chin, a thin nose, big black eyes hidden in dark holes. He showed his teeth. She said it disappeared as quickly as it had appeared. Her description differs somewhat from the Conjuring 3 demon depicted in the Devil Made Me Do It movie. Right away, I knew there was something to this. I felt like a good fisherman when he knows there is something on the line. Ed Warren said in the 1981 Washington Post article. Ed claimed that the boy had 43 demons inside of him and that he had spoken their names. During an interview with the paranormal researcher Tony Spera, Ed also said that the boy would exhibit the extreme strength and that he once witnessed him levitate. Did Debbie Glatzel and Arn Johnson decide against renting the home? Yes, the Conjuring 3 true story reveals that they decided against renting the house and instead began renting a small green and brown house next to Debbie's place of employment, the Brookfield Boarding Kennels in Brookfield, Connecticut. Debbie had been working as a dog groomer for the landlord of the house, a short and stocky 40-year-old man by the name of Alan Bono, who was the kennel manager. Bono, who is renamed Bruno Sauls in the movie, lived in an apartment above the kennels that his sister owned. He was a world traveler who had recently been managing a plantation in Australia for about 17 months until his sister, who was living in Florida, asked him to go to Connecticut to manage the kennels. Were exorcisms performed on David Glatzel? Yes. According to Warrens, they oversaw 3 lesser exorcisms that David was subjected to. Lorraine Warren claimed that David levitated, ceased breathing, and even foreshadowed the murder that was going to happen. The local diocese said that the Catholic Church never sanctioned a formal exorcism, stating that the Glatzel family had not taken part in the psychological tests that the church required. David Glatzel's mom, Judy Glatzel, responded by telling the Washington Post that she paid $75 an hour for a session with a local psychiatrist, but it was up to church officials to set up and pay for further psychological testing. Did Arn Cheyenne Johnson challenge the demon to possess him instead of the boy, David Glatzel? According to The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It true story, this is allegedly correct. One of the demons supposedly went from the body of the boy, David Glatzel, into the body of his older sister's boyfriend, Arn Cheyenne Johnson, after Arn egged on the demon to leave David's body and possess him instead. According to the demonologist Ed Warren, Arn yelled, "Take me on, leave my little buddy alone." After a few days, David's condition improved, but Arn began to show signs that the demon had taken hold of him. The Haunting TV series episode Where Demons Dwell states that the demon took control of his car and forced it into a tree, leaving him startled but injured. The demon was also blamed for Arn's fall from the tree while working as a tree trimmer. Debbie claimed that he would hallucinate and growl. Arn said that his final lucid encounter with the demon was at the rental home when he was examining an old well which supposedly housed the demon. According to Arn, he truly had become possessed when he made eye contact with the demon at the well. What were the circumstances surrounding Arn Johnson's murder of his landlord, Alan Bono? On February 16, 1981, 19-year-old Arn Cheyenne Johnson called in sick to Wright Tree Service where he was employed. He met his girlfriend Debbie, 26, at a Brookfield boarding kennels where she worked as a dog groomer. They were joined by Debbie's 9-year-old cousin Mary, 9, and Arn's sisters, Wanda, 15, and Janice, 13. The three girls had come to visit Debbie at work and see the dogs. Debbie's boss, Alan Bono, 40, who was also Debbie and Arn's landlord, invited them out to lunch at a local pizza parlor. By this point, Arn had supposedly been exhibiting strange behavior that was similar to what Debbie's younger brother, David, had experienced when he was allegedly possessed. At least that's what Arn's attorney tried to argue at his murder trial. While they were at the restaurant for lunch, Arn Cheyenne Johnson and Alan Bono began to drink heavily. By the time they returned to kennel, Alan was intoxicated. He grabbed hold of Debbie's 9-year-old cousin Mary and refused to let go. Arn ordered Alan to release Mary. When he finally did, the two men continued to argue in the driveway of the kennel. Debbie attempted to stand between them, and Arn's sister Wanda tried to pull her brother away. According to what was stated in the trial, Arn then began to growl like an animal and pull out a 5-inch pocket knife, tree surgeon's knife, stabbing Alan Bono repeatedly. Alan suffered 4 or 5 tremendous wounds, mainly to his chest. He died at the hospital several hours later. Arnie taken into custody 2 miles from the scene by police. He claimed that he couldn't remember anything that had happened. The stabbing is believed to be the first murder in Brookfield, Connecticut's 193-year-old history, and certainly the first in the 30 years since the town had police records. The following day, paranormal investigator Lorraine Warren told the police that it was her belief that Arn Cheyenne Johnson was possessed when he killed Alan Bono. Did Arn Johnson stab Alan Bono because Arn was a jealous lover? Debbie Glatzel claimed that her boyfriend Arn Johnson had come to Alan Bono's residence to repair a stereo for him. She said that Alan had been drinking red wine heavily and the two men got into an argument about payment for the stereo repair. She said that Arn appeared to be in some kind of trance when he stabbed Alan. However, according to reports, during the 3 months that Debbie Glatzel and Arn Johnson lived next to the kennel that Alan Bono lived above, the three became very friendly. Debbie's mother, Judy, once said of the short and stocky Alan, There should be more men like him. The Brookfield police believed that Debbie and Alan's relationship may have been more than just employer-employee, but Debbie said that Alan was an alcoholic and that he could make friends with anybody. She denied there was anything between them. The police said that Arn and Alan were arguing over Debbie, not a stereo repair. The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It leaves out the idea of Alan, renamed Bruno Saul in the movie, being a jealous lover, but does show him grabbing Debbie. The notion of the jealous lover was depicted in the 1983 TV movie The Demon Murder Case, starring Kevin Bacon. Did Arn Johnson's trial mark the first time the demonic possession had been used as a defense in U.S. courts? 8 months after the homicide, Arn Johnson's lawyer, Martin Minella, attempted to enter a plea of not guilty due to demonic possession. Minella argued that Arn Johnson killed Alan Bono while under the devil's spell, stating that his client was possessed by a demon and it was a demon who actually manipulated his body. It was the first known court case in United States history where the defense had sought to prove innocence based on a claim of demonic possession. As word of the unusual defense spread to the media, the trial became known as the Devil Made Me Do It case. It made headlines around the world, and paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren, who were famous for their involvement in the Amityville horror case, were thrust back into the spotlight. Minella told the New York Times, "The courts have dealt with the existence of God. Now they're going to have to deal with the existence of the devil." The lawyer Martin Minella is depicted as a female in the movie and renamed Meryl. Did the judge in Arn Johnson's murder trial forbid the demon defense? Judge Robert J. Callahan promptly rejected the idea of a defense based on demonic possession. Callahan stated that no such defense could ever exist in a court of law due to a lack of evidence. He stated that it would be irrelative and unscientific to allow testimony related to such a defense. Arn Johnson's lawyer, Martin Minella, had to give up the argument of demonic possession and instead decided to argue that Johnson acted in self-defense. Did the jury find Arn Johnson guilty? In researching the Conjuring 3 true story, we learned that the jury deliberated for 15 hours over the course of 3 days. On November 24, 1981, Arn Johnson was convicted of first-degree manslaughter and sentenced to 10 to 20 years in prison. Did Debbie Glatzel and Arn Johnson marry while he was in prison? Debbie Glatzel and Arn Johnson married while he was in prison. He also received his high school diploma and took several college courses while behind the bars. He was a model prisoner and was released on a good behavior after serving less than 5 years. The couple had 2 children. Have any other movies been made about the Devil Made Me Do It case? A 1983 television movie titled The Demon Murder Case was made about the David Glatzel possession and Arn Johnson trial. It starred Kevin Bacon, Andy Griffith, and Cloris Leachman. In that film, the character who represents Arn Johnson is portrayed by Kevin Bacon and renamed Kenny Miller. David Glatzel, the 11-year-old boy, is renamed Brian Fraser and portrayed by Charles Fields. Ed and Lorraine Warren are renamed Guy and Charlotte Harris and played by Andy Griffith and Beverly McKenzie. Like the Conjuring 3 demon, the movie implies that it took control over Arn Johnson when he killed Alan Bono. However, the demon murder case certainly doesn't hold back in its depiction of Arn as a jealous lover. The movie includes a disclaimer in the opening credits which states that the film contains some fictional scenes depicting demonic possession. It suggests by the stories of people who claim to have witnessed so-called demonic possession. It is rare nowadays for a horror movie based on a true story to be that upfront about the creative license it has taken, opting instead to apply that everything that unfolds on the screen is the truth. Is it possible that the Devil Made Me Do It case was a hoax? David's brother, Carl Glatzel, spoke out against Gerald Brittle's book that Lorraine Warren was involved in, The Devil in Connecticut, when it was republished in 2016. Carl called the book a complete lie, saying that the Warrens concocted a phony story about demons in an attempt to get rich and famous at our expense. According to Carl, the Warrens told the family that the demonic possession story would turn them into millionaires. In reality, the Glatzel family was paid just $2,000. Carl said that his younger brother David had been suffering from a mental illness at the time, from which he has since recovered. He said that the entire family was manipulated and exploited by Ed and Lorraine Warren. In 2007, David and Carl went as far as to file a lawsuit against Gerald Brittle and the Warrens for unspecified financial damages. Author Gerald Brittle claimed that his book was based entirely on the fact that he spent more than 100 hours interviewing the Glatzel family, which he has on video. Lorraine Warren said that the 6 priests who participated in the lesser exorcisms all agreed that David Glatzel was possessed. Both Brittle and Lorraine Warren criticized the lawsuit and questioned Carl Glatzel's motive, with Brittle implying it was for financial gain. Of course, the same could be said for the Warrens and Brittle. Debbie Glatzel and Arne Cheyenne Johnson, who married while Arne was in prison, appear to be the only 2 members of the Glatzel family who support the Warrens' account of possession. In addition to his brother Carl, David Glatzel's father also denied that his son was ever possessed. At the time, however, David's mother mostly backed up the Warren story. With the release of The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, perhaps David Glatzel will speak out about the true story and the Warrens' involvement. And this is it. I hope you found this video interesting as well as informative. Please let me know in the comments down below what you think of this haunting story as well as the film, if you have watched it of course. Leave a like, subscribe, and click on the bell. Also, check out the mystery link in the description down below. That's it, and I'll see you in my next video.